Perfect. All right. Well, good afternoon. Good evening, I should say,
Well,
Erin.
good evening to you too.
We are here today sitting down with you. Just for everybody who's watching, this is Arian Simone. She is the CEO of Arian Simone Enterprises, celebrity publicist, and also the founder, correct, of the Fearless Movement.
Correct.
Awesome. So today, Arian, we at Hope, our motto is just the everyday woman and inspiring women all around the world.
Mm.
So we have been watching you for quite some time, and we found that we just fell in love with the Fearless Movement. I mean, an idea of a woman stepping out on her own and, kind of no holds barred, not looking back, like that old school Marilyn Monroe. I could kind of care less. This is where I want to be in life. And we fell in love with it. And we want to just kind of hear from you. And if you could tell our viewers a little bit about how you got started and where Fearless Movement came from.
Oh my gosh. First of all, thank you so much for having me. Such an honor, such a pleasure. The movement actually started off as part of my personal journey, to be completely honest with you. And in my journey, I moved to LA, and I'm actually sitting in LA right now while I'm doing this interview. But I moved to LA with a job back in like 2004. And I ended up homeless. I got laid off after like the very first month of just working. And I guess you would say, at that time, I was in shock, but still, that edge of fearlessness where I was like, I have to figure it out. I went from my apartment. I could no longer afford to my car, and packed everything up and just started applying for jobs. And I sold my clothes out of my car to eat and put gas in the tank. You can't hear me, right?
Yes, I hear you. I'm listening.
Perfect.
Wow.
And put gas in the car. And I literally applied for over 153 jobs and nobody hired me. I mean, like, I stopped counting at 153. That's why I remember the number to this day.
Wow.
And I was like, Lord, something has to give. Something has to shake.
Yeah.
And I ended up on welfare, food stamps, the whole nine. I met people, slept on their floors. It's so funny. Even today is just a beautiful day, I guess you would say. I went to a restaurant earlier, and I remember going to this restaurant when I had just finished selling my clothes. And I was living on somebody's floor, and I was like, oh my gosh, Uncle Andre, I ain't seen you in years. The name of the restaurant and the barbecue place. And I was like, you still got that good potato salad? I said, you wouldn't believe it. I'm like, I have made it. But it was so crazy. This just happened before me doing this interview. But just having those memories and reminiscing of that time in 2004, like, well, that was 10 years ago.
Right.
And somebody sought me out to do some PR and marketing work, just to fast forward the story some. And I had never done PR and marketing work a day in my life, but they asked me to clean the toilets, scrub the walls, wash the floors. I would gladly say yes, because I wanted to eat.
Absolutely.
And they referred me to somebody who referred me to somebody who referred me to somebody. And I looked up, and I had like 5 to 7 projects. So first thing was, I moved from literally the car to an office space. And I slept in the office at first. But I was in great spirits, like just filled with life. Like, I can go and get it. I literally thought I was building a $1 billion business. You couldn't tell me nothing. Like, my mind was just there. Like, I'm doing this. I got this. And then I met Coach Carter on the office floor one day. He was doing business with my specialist company. Special is a term in my sorority for somebody who's special.
Okay.
And he was like, oh, I'm going to help you out. And I'm like, why are you going to help me out? And he was like, oh, I'm going to have Paramount Studios cut you a check. And I was like, whoa. And he said, no, they outsource before your skill set. And I was like, wow, really? So, it exposed me to the fact that people get outsourced for movies. So I had called Will Packer and Rob Hardy, who were at Rainforest Films, and I let them know what I had been up to, because they went to FAMU as well. We didn't go to school together, but I knew they were in the industry. Right. And they got me an interview over at Sony to work on Stop the Yard. And it turned out well. And then it was like, business was just overflowing. It was one movie after another movie, one music artist after another music artist, one athlete after the next athlete, one project after the next project. And I looked up, and I have worked with so many renowned people, so many celebrities, just so many wonderful creative beings, and it's been a wonderful ride. So when I started the Fearless movement, it was because of my journey, and I
Mhm.
wanted others to be inspired as well. I'm like, hey, if I done been through all what I've been through,
Right.
and the result, you trust me, you can do this too.
Hmm. Wow, that is phenomenal. That's really a phenomenal story. I wasn't expecting all of that. Absolutely. Wow. Wow. Well, you know what? What's crazy about your story is I know that in a lot of those places you had to be scared. I mean,
Mhm.
I mean, clearly you were worried about what was going to be the next meal. So I know there's women out there who are probably in the same position or have been or, going through it now. What is some advice that you would give to them as far as how to push through that moment? Because clearly you had a battery in your back that helped you, continue to just push through to that moment, knowing that on the other side there was going to be a breakthrough at some point.
Well, first and foremost, I'm a very big person of energy. You never let your circumstances or your situations dictate your emotions.
Hmm.
So that's one. Like however things are going, I always feel great. So you have to learn how to control your energy in spite of,
Right.
despite of, just completely. You have to learn how to do that because the good energy that you give off, you will attract. So you, one, have to be conscious of that. Two, my response literally right now, just where I'm at in life, my response to everything that happens is literally, I trust God. And part of it, of course, is due to the fact that of what I've been through. But anytime any news hits me, left, right, anything, my response is always, I trust God.
Hmm.
And me having that rooted faith and just knowing that the end is victorious, I had no question when I was going through everything I was going through. I said, there's victory. And I was convinced. You couldn't tell me otherwise. I
Yeah.
was so convinced when I had to, I saved my food stamp paperwork. I saved my general relief paperwork, my welfare paperwork. I said, because I'm coming out of this. I said, this is not who I am. This is just what I'm going through. I'm saving this because I'm coming out of this. I will be victorious. So I had this thing of just there has to be victory on the other side of this. But at this point in my life, I just truly rest in God. I know it's hard when
Hmm.
you're there and you're going through, because I know even when I was going through, I was like, what the hell is going on?
Right.
But
Absolutely.
you just have to know that there is a greater power, that this is part of His master plan. It
Right.
truly is.
Mm.
I look back and I see how the dots didn't see connected, and I'm like, okay, God, you're funny. You are truly funny.
So let me ask you, you said that, obviously you have a strong faith and having that has helped you get through the situation. With that being said, I think for a lot of women who decide to venture out and do either whether it's career, motherhood, I think we're all in some way, searching for what is our purpose. So you said that you had never done PR, marketing, or anything like that. So are you of the belief that I guess whether God, there's a purpose for everyone and everyone has their purpose and you almost fall into that, or that everybody should, or you should chase something you want, like whether that be tangible, like for instance, I want to be, a singer. Should I chase that or should I dig into my faith and find out what truly God has for me?
Um, I think honestly, I don't go anything against digging into what God has for you, but
Hmm.
I think they both play a role. I
Okay.
think it's a little bit of both. And I'm even in the middle of reading the book Purpose Awakening by Touré Roberts.
Okay.
Phenomenal. And he even talks in the book about how before you existed in your mother's womb, there was a reason why God created you. You know, the reason why you have purpose starts before you started having a passion for anything or a desire to do anything. So I do agree with, of course, being still and taking that time out.
Hmm.
And I also agree with the fact that if something's burning in your heart, it's for a reason. The
Hmm.
reason may not necessarily even be career. You know, the fact that you said, if I want to go be a singer, that your joy for singing does not necessarily have to be your career. It
Ah.
may be a piece in the puzzle.
Hmm.
Sometimes something is a thing that leads to the thing, or it just may be a part of the puzzle. You know, I always say that God gives us the puzzle pieces. It's just up for us to put it together. It's just maybe that's a part of you that you enjoy. You might not enjoy, and you have to enjoy it more than the obstacles that come with it. Meaning you might not enjoy the tour life. You might not enjoy the schedules. You might not enjoy the interviews. And you might not enjoy the fame. There's so many other dynamics that would go along with being in a singing career versus the fact that you enjoy singing.
Right.
You know, so you have these different gifts and talents. People always ask me, oh, well, do you love your job? Do you love PR? Whatever, whatever. And I can't even honestly say yes. And what I mean by that, I know you're like, what the hell? What I mean by that is I believe that my calling is to help other people manifest their dreams. This is just the vehicle in which God has chosen for this to be carried out. So PR is not my purpose by any means. It's just the vehicle in which my purpose is being carried out. I carry out my purpose through other aspects other than PR, whether it's me doing things with the Fearless movement. I'm inspiring you this way to go live your dreams and help you manifest them. When I'm doing PR, it's just a skill set that helps people manifest their dreams. It's just a tangible asset, something that they could use to get them to the next level of that manifestation. But I'm here to guide you in that process, and whatever vehicle God takes me to in order to manifest that, that's just the vehicle that the root of what's happening is happening.
Gotcha. Okay. So tell us a little bit more. That was phenomenal. I mean, I think that would absolutely help our viewers. I think that's awesome. Tell us a little bit more about the Fearless movement and what your mission is, what your goals are, and kind of where you guys are going.
Oh my gosh, it's so much and it's so ever evolving. We started off as a magazine in 2010. And I remember and I know you all have been successful. You said 9-10 years. I'm like, congrats. And we were nationally distributed, newsstands all across the country. Barnes and Nobles and Borders was our first deal. And it was just like, wow. I had immediate distribution, and it was a vehicle to tell others fearless journeys. And that's what I mean by as far as the purpose and the different vehicles. And the print industry became, of course, very tough. You see people selling their print to go online, etc. I said to God, well, what do you want me to do with this? And he said, well, you can continue the message. You just don't have to keep using just this vehicle. This can still go on, which is how the Fearless movement came about. And I was just like, okay, we can still be a community that inspires people to live fearlessly, because that was the only reason why I had the magazine in the first place.
Right, absolutely.
Like, okay. So we pretty much have our memberships. We have our Fearless Female Entrepreneurship Network, where we hold classes just to help people hone their skills in entrepreneurship. We have our Fearless Discussions, which I'm just like on fire about.
Really? Okay.
And they're different types we have. They're transparent conversations about like these real life topics that people are really dealing with, and they're affecting today's society and pop culture. And one, just to even give you a taste, is called like, Are You a Queen or a Bad Bee? And it's really to restore the art of a woman. You know, this whole bad bee phase, this whole hood rat movement, it just has to go. I'm sorry, but
I agree.
It has to go. It's not classy, it's not ladylike, it's not of dignity, integrity. And it's just embarrassing as far as I'm concerned. And I know our ancestors did not go all through what they went through, and we're so prideful to see us looking like this. No. Absolutely. So we have that class to have that discussion, and it's really a real struggle that some women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s are truly, honestly dealing with, because they're seeing the behavior being rewarded. It's not new behavior. It always existed, but they've never seen it with a platform before. So it's definitely a very interesting discussion, just to make sure women are inspired to just hold on to being classy and having integrity. So our Fearless Discussions are really good. The one that the colleges always purchase a lot. Now, mind you, I started these off pretty much like for fun. Now we get sought out to be hired to do them.
Wow.
So the colleges, they always go towards this Pretty Hurt discussion. And part of it is because the title's not as risky as some of the other titles. But the Does Pretty Hurt for women, it's about like the butt shots, the breast implants, the liposuction, and just all the extremes that women will go through just to live up to what they think society feels is beautiful. And it's a conversation, I say, that definitely needs to be had. It's a play off of Beyonce's song, where her song is called Pretty Hurts. And she says in her lyrics, you try to fix what you can't fix. It's your soul that needs the surgery. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really the woman's perception of themselves. If you alter something and the root of the issue is not changed, you're still going to have a bad, ill perception of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what cosmetic surgery you go through. So we have that discussion, and we do these discussions monthly, and I truly just, like I say, adore them. We have our Fearless University coming up that I'm like on fire about, and we have a class called The Art of a Woman. So after we had that discussion, I was like, okay, let's bring some wisdom into some structure to really help women from this point on. To just maintain their class and just knowing what this looks like. When I grew up, there were charm schools, there were finishing schools. If I say that to a 15-year-old today, she's probably like, what is that? She probably has no clue. I'm like, no,
Absolutely.
I'm like, we were debutantes. I'm like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
dignity.
absolutely. We had balls. We dressed up.
Yes,
It was a requirement to put on your dress and your stockings to even go to
yes,
church.
yeah, and
Nowadays,
we had slips.
they don't get taught that. That's just not, now you see, I think I was walking around the streets the other day and I saw, little girls in tight leggings and short shorts. And these are young girls. And I'm thinking, if that's starting at such an early age, then I can only imagine after she's a woman, how that portrays itself into society. So with that
Yeah,
being
so we
said,
have our art of
yeah, it's just it's unfortunate. So with that being said, tell me something about what you would. I know what's different now is probably the way is it media? Is it would you say that it's the media? Is the things that we let our children watch, or is that what's causing us as women to have this conception between what's a bad bee, or if you're going to be a classy lady, or is it an upbringing in your household? Which one? Because sometimes I wonder.
it's honestly, yeah, and it's honestly a little bit of both. It's definitely a little bit of both. And what I mean by that is, especially in the African American community, the home has changed drastically.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was like 19 in the 60s, and of African American children were being raised in a two-parent household. So you always had a male and female perspective. By literally 40 years later, 2006, less than 30 something percent were being raised in a two-parent household. So for the foundation of the home has changed drastically. So that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So even if the media has all the trash that it does, if the foundation of the home is in place, you still have a good foundation to where you don't use entertainment as mentorship. And part of it, like I said, it is the media. The images have changed drastically. The social media outlets have giving everybody a voice has changed. We don't have the balance on TV. It's very one-dimensional, of course, as far as what we're being seen, as far as ourselves in the media. So we definitely, one, need to give a balance there, and two, like I said, the root of it is, of course, the home.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think I agree with you. I think it's both, and I always wonder if sometimes we, especially in the African American community, have made it more difficult to do those things, and society has made it more difficult in the sense that, I know back in the day, my grandmother didn't work. She was at home. And the husband went out to work. Where now you have a two-parent household, both people are working, and there's less time to do those kind of nurturing activities that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I wonder if that's also something that could be changed.
And that's so true. Honestly, and I'm not a big advocate of the feminist movement. As strong as I am and
Mhm.
as aggressive as I am, I'm just not. I believe in equality,
Right.
but there was a big shift, and you're right, that did happen with that. And so often, these women have gone after, I guess you would say, the power that they thought a man had. And they
Mhm.
go get these corporate jobs and they climb this corporate ladder. And I'm like, is that really what you even created to do? And some of them even will look down on a housewife. And I'm like, well, you know what? At least she didn't spend 40 years of her life doing a distraction,
Right.
because she
Absolutely.
is still called to be a mother and a nurturer and all those things.
Right.
It's like, well, you know what? Don't look down on that woman. She's at least living out what she was created to do. Whereas you may have went off and got this 40-year career and just done nothing that had anything to do why you created to do, just because you thought it gave you the sense of power and control.
Right. I think it's just important for as women, probably for us to have balance. I think
Mm-hmm.
you can be a mega powerhouse, but there is also an aspect where you can be tough, but you don't have to be hard like a man. You know, and I think
Oh
sometimes
no.
that sometimes we, as women, unfortunately, we get pushed into these areas where while you're fighting to become, the top at your career or the top entrepreneur, that sometimes you forget about the kindness, the love, and the nurturing that women are still supposed to have. And even when
Mm-hmm.
you can, and I'm a firm believer in, you can have it all. You can have it
I,
all. You can have it
I
all your
definitely.
way. You just have to, it's all about juggling and time management and figuring it out.
Yeah, you definitely can have it all. I'm definitely an advocate for that.
Absolutely. Well, awesome. I guess here's some things that I would like for you to do, and that's just if you could give our viewers some advice, because clearly you've gone forth and chased your dreams, and if you could just give them some advice about how to do that, and not lose sight of the goal, and just like keeping that forever spirit of fearlessness, that would be good.
And you know what? I can't even say that I necessarily. It sounds like I went forth because I'm accomplished. That I went forth and chased my dreams. I can't say that that's what I did though.
Hmm.
I definitely agree with people pursuing their dreams and living their dreams. I
Hmm.
do. But I was just, because I was such in a rut, I wasn't chasing any dream. I was just chasing more so purpose. Because I couldn't figure out why what was happening to me was happening to me. And
Absolutely.
in that, I things just started to unfold. So it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I had a dream and I just went for it. People hear the whole LA story and they're like, oh, she went to LA to pursue her dreams. I'm like, no, I actually moved to LA because I had a job and it just didn't work out. But um, so I wouldn't even, I've just always been definitely one that was in pursuit of purpose. And then from there, I, live my dreams.
Hmm.
But I definitely would encourage somebody to take that route
Hmm.
versus oh, that's my dream job. Well, you'll start to learn some of the things that are your dream job. You might not be that fulfilled the way you think you would be.
Right.
You want to take some time out for you. You want to figure out, and Bishop Jake says this, and I always think it's funny. He says, no, people really need to listen when I say it. He always says, well, what turns you on? And
Hmm.
people, when they hear the comment, they automatically think sexual.
Right.
And he was, no, seriously, like what turns you on? What pleases you? What are the things that turn you on? Because you need to stick in line with that, not just like your idea of whatever this career is, your idea of that. What gives you that roar? What gives you that fire? What gives you that flame? He
Hmm.
was like, don't deviate from that. So that would be, I guess you would say, more so my advice is more so get to the root of what that is.
Right.
And then I'm so serious when I say that I never dreamed of working in PR. I didn't know what the heck PR was. I didn't dream of this. I heard about it in a marketing class, and that was like one course.
Right.
So that's what I mean by figure out what that is. Those things, and then
Right.
just start looking over your life and start connecting the dots. Because you will even start to see that you have the resources to do whatever that thing is. You already have been equipped for. God already created you for that. The manufacturer makes no mistakes. You
Absolutely.
already are equipped with the engine, the doors, how to turn the air conditioner on, how to keep the windows up. Everything was in your assembly from that. Oh, I got cruise control. Whoa, I can go 140 miles per hour. It just starts to move.
Hmm. That's awesome. That is so true. You about to start preaching in here, girl. Well, listen, I won't hold you up too much longer. Last but not least, tell me some things that inspire you. What inspires you?
Oh my gosh, I'm in love. I guess you would say this so weird with purity. And what I mean by that is we as Americans have just polluted, I guess you would say, this earth.
Hmm.
Like when I love to travel, so that's always inspirational. And I love new experiences, new opportunities, and just tapping into somebody else's world. So I recently went to Jamaica, and
Okay.
I fell in love with the fact that we could pick the mangoes off the trees and eat them. You know, that they would take coconut water and then just coconut mache and you could drink the coconut water. And it was so inspirational and just so beautiful to me. And I got a little mad at us Americans. I'm like, we polluted this land. I said, because I can't go outside and do that because just the air or just how we've chosen to live. And I felt like I was in the Garden of Eden. I said, this is how God created things to be. So I'm always in love with the innocence of something. I'm always in love with the pureness of something. I'm inspired by art. I'm inspired by creative people. I'm inspired by culture. I'm inspired by experiences, traveling, etc. That's what just like gets me going, gets me high.
Awesome. Yeah, we have polluted this world. It would be nice to go out back and, that sounds amazing to go out back and grab a mango. Yeah, we can't do that. We can barely drink the water nowadays without worrying about what's in it. It's unfortunate. Well, I won't hold you too much longer. So why don't you tell our viewers where they can follow you, the Fearless Movement, and even Arian Simone Enterprises?
You can find, well, my website is ariansimone.com. And on Instagram, I'm at Arian Simone. It's spelled ArianSimone. And Fearless Movement is at Fearless Movement.
Uh-oh.
Did you get me?
You broke up there, so why don't you repeat it one more time for me?
Oh, no. Okay. You can find me at ariansimone.com. You can find me at thefearlessmovement.com. On the Instagram handles are at Arian Simone, ArianSimone, and at Fearless Movement, spelled all the way out.
Okay. Well, great. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All your words are
Thank you.
inspiring, so thank you so much. We'll be following you, and hopefully you'll be following us too. We definitely, if you guys haven't already, look online at hopeforwomenmag.com. There's a write-up there about Arian. We did an interview with her just about, I guess, 2 weeks ago. So check her out there, and make sure you guys visit her on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Thanks again, Arian. I appreciate it. You enjoy the rest of your evening.
Oh, thank you. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.